Yep, that's me, Charlie Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: religion and politics. Too divisive. Whatever. Should have never stopped talking about it. One decides what life is going to be like here on Earth. The other one decides what it's going to be like when we leave it. Makes it vitally important. Don't stop talking about important things, please. Quit talking about the NFL and stinking Taylor Swift. What the heck? Why are these silly little things consumed? Drones over New Jersey, drones, by the way, that have FAA compliant lights on them. But I'm supposed to believe they're from Iran? It's insane how quickly we go, oh, look at that. The latest thing we're supposed to look at. Well, behind us is what we really should be looking at. And that's because we stopped talking about important things and talk about silly, goofy things and whatever the media spoon feeds us. I've been in the media my entire adult life. I know all their tricks. I know how they lie. I know one of their greatest lies is by omission, never even telling you about it or making you aware of it, like the show just earlier with Loy Brunson, suing the Supreme Court, holding these elected office holders accountable to the oath of office that they're supposed to take, and they're not. And the media is ignoring it. Why would they ignore something like that? Because they're all on board. They love what's going on. They're in the pockets of the Democrat National Committee. They've got their marching orders. And I don't think that they're all that brilliant at the DNC. I fully don't. But I do think that they've got some people ahead of them and above them who are telling them what to do. I'm talking cabal stuff. I know, oh, Charlie, the conspiracy theorist. No, anybody who knows me, my entire career in the media, I avoided anything that they labeled a conspiracy theory like the plague. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, maybe so. We'll see. We'll wait and see. Now I'm like, oh, man. Like General Michael Flynn says, the only difference between a conspiracy theory and fact is about 6 months. Well, I first met Renette Sinham. That's my guest on this Do Not Talk. I love her. Love her. I first became aware of her about 3 years ago, working on doing a conservative talk show in the afternoon on a radio station in the Sacramento, California area. And I start hearing about this woman in Nevada County who's like city council and mayor and running for governor. I'm like, okay, I'll listen. She has become such a great friend, and welcoming her to the show in just a second. I'm really looking forward to. If you haven't met or heard from Renette Sinham before, you're gonna love this. Speaking of loving this and going back a little bit, 6 months ago, Chad Prather, who's a comedian, very funny, from Texas, did this piece about when they were calling J.D. Vance weird. These nutbags in the Democrat Party calling J.D. Vance weird and Trump weird. Remember that? They were trying anything, weren't they? Chad addressed that brilliantly, and I want you to see it.
So the left keeps calling the Trump Vance ticket weird. Yeah. The party that tells us they can't define what a woman is, that boys can have periods, men can breastfeed, and a woman doesn't need anything from a man to get pregnant is calling them weird. That logic takes a lot of balls. There's no reason to bring Michelle Obama into this. But the people that preach climate change and yet build their mansions on the beach and jet around in private planes, the people that want to kill their unborn babies, shout their abortions, hate the nuclear family, want you to believe that you're weird. Yeah, the people that mask up alone in an automobile, socially distanced, hugged grandma through saran wrap, put their kids behind plexiglass and waved through a window at a nursing home while grandpa breathed his last, and then they willingly lined up to be living lab rats while Big Pharma tested a mass medical experiment on them are going to tell me that I'm weird. Yeah. The people that call rioting and burning down cities peaceful protesting, they find racism, sexism, and hatred in every single thing. They dye their hair purple, get offended by pronouns, and think there's 247 genders and fret over cow farts, want me to believe that I'm the weird one. These are the people that drink out of paper straws, plug their car into a wall, eat bugs, call obesity beautiful, fight for a man's right to piss next to a woman, and expect the government to run their life from cradle to grave and name their kids dumb shit like Apple. I think I'll be the weird one. Okay, love you. God bless.
Oh my goodness, I love that guy. Oh, that's classic. Oh my goodness, he's so right. He's absolutely right with everything he was saying. Speaking of somebody who's been right time and time again, ever since I met Renette Sinham, and she's like talking about, have you seen what they're doing in the clouds? Have you seen what they're spraying in the air? Have you seen what? She's not just talking about it, though, like a lot of people who commiserate and whine and complain, but don't do anything. Renette keeps doing stuff. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Charlie. Thanks for the humor. I appreciate it. And thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. I always appreciate that.
My pleasure. I get it all the time. I'm always having people call me Simmons,
I'm
or they
sure.
leave the S off the end, Simon.
I've
But
probably even done that myself.
yeah. So Renette runs for governor. She was actually involved in the recall of Governor Hairdo as well. And you paid for it because in the area where you live, and you can say where you live if you want, that's up to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Nevada City, California. Nevada
you got
County,
some,
California. Mhm.
yep, and it's a beautiful area, beautiful town, especially at Christmas time, which is so funny because they're for the almighty dollar, they're promoting a holiday, a holy day
Yeah.
in the Christian religion, celebrating the birth of Christ Jesus, whom they hate.
Mhm.
You got a whole lot of really wicked people on the left in your area who went after you with
Yeah.
a vengeance, didn't they?
Yeah. Absolutely. Several times. Yeah. But with
You
COVID,
were
especially.
during COVID, especially, yeah, because you're the one going, "Don't take this shot. Don't take this shot. Something's not right." And I was doing the same thing on the radio.
Yeah.
I don't even. Did we talk about when I first had you on the air, or do we just talk about your
Probably.
governor's race?
I mean, no, we probably did. Because I was mayor when COVID hit. I was aware of COVID January, like early January. It just caught my attention. I was like, what the heck is this? And then when it started to roll out here in the States and Newsom did his first stay-at-home order, I was okay with it if it really did stick with 2 weeks, because being the mayor, I'm like, I really don't know what this is. And, I was a little bit more hesitant, much more conservative than usual, because I'm more of a out there on the edge person. And this like, no, let's be really uber cautious with this so we know what we're dealing with, and then we will act accordingly. Well, after 2 weeks of a stay-at-home order, of course it's extending, that's right, it doesn't have my support. Then I start calling that out. And then when there was the statewide mask mandate and I'm still mayor, I thought, well, this is amazing, because I didn't know that a governor has unilateral power to
Doesn't
make
doesn't
exactly
a governor
make a
cannot make a
decision.
law? And I know we talked about that. He can do
100%.
mandates, which is I strongly suggest you do this because you'll make me happy, but he can't make a law.
No. So I'm the mayor and I know this, but to back myself up, I go walking down to City Hall, talk to the police chief, and I say, are you going to, or do you intend on enforcing this mandate? And he goes, I don't know how. It doesn't come with a penal code, so I can't really, like, thank you very much. And he goes, and by the way, it doesn't look that constitutional to me. I'm like, thank you. So I go back up, grab a Peggy Hall video. At that point in time, Peggy Hall, the Healthy American, did a great job. Like, this is how legislation is made. These are how bills go through the process. This is how law becomes law. And so I put that out on a Facebook post saying, hey, as you go around today, you don't have to wear your mask if you don't want to. And I'm not talking about the efficacy of the mask, though. As a former house painter of 35 years, getting industrial bronchitis from wearing my N95 mask incorrectly, I knew the dangers of it. But that wasn't my argument. My argument was this: simply, your governor does not have the power to force a medical device on every Californian's face, period. So all hell broke out after that. And poor little tiny City Hall, Nevada City is a tiny little hamlet. You had people on the left and the right going, we love her, we hate her, we love her, we hate her, back and forth. City Hall was in the middle of the crosshairs. I wasn't going to stand down. And we were having Friday Zoom calls with the CEO of the county, head of the public health department, all the mayors, city managers, to get on the same page. But once you would ask some questions like, well, if it's all about improving, our immunity, then when are we going to start, disseminating, vitamin D and zinc and C and blah, blah, blah? When are we going to have people go out into the natural sunshine? And how do we teach them to grow their own food and get their hands in the soil? And those were too many blades in the grass questions. So the CEO either muted me or ignored me or just said, wait till the end of it, and then they'll dogpile me when everyone's gone and tell me how I was wrong. So what I saw, Charlie, after already being in local government, and I'm really more of a community activist. I'm not a politician. If I ever hear somebody call me a politician, I want to laugh. I'm not a politician. I'm an activist. I'm a solutionarian, and I like to get my hands dirty and get into the middle of it. So I did that for 8 years. But by that time, I knew how local government especially worked. Once COVID struck, all of a sudden we're like this, and the CEO of the county and the public health director, who had been given legislative power back in 2019 through a bill, was given unilateral power as a public health officer, not being elected, not being appointed, but hired by county staff, has more power than anybody else out there to shut down schools and churches and businesses and try to force, shots on people. And
What?
it goes on. Oh yeah, it was a bill, it was legislation in
This
2019.
this was who now again? What position?
The public health director was given in
Which is
2019, the fall of
you don't
2019.
get you don't did you get to vote on
No,
who's going to be
exactly.
a
That's just
public?
it. So what I'm seeing is behind the scenes on Friday, every single week, I see this transition of power into unelected positions. The CEO of the county, which is nothing more than a corporation. Every county, every city, we now know, is a corporation masquerading as your government. But it's more than that. They're actually masquerading as your government when they're really a criminal cabal. And so we now know this, but that was being demonstrated when COVID struck. The CEO is in charge, public health director had the final say, and us folks who were actually elected into our positions couldn't even ask questions. So come June, when there's now the statewide mask mandate, I do, as I said before, I call out Governor Newsom. All hell breaks out. I had just won my third election for my third term. And now I'm ready to, on July 8th of 2020, take my oath. And instead, during the Zoom call meeting, because we cannot have public, meetings any longer, so we're on Zoom, I'm chairing the meeting as the mayor. And instead of taking the oath a third time, I actually said I'm resigning. Here, I'm reading my resignation letter. I call it everyone for committing crimes against humanity. And this isn't, again, 2020. And I said, we're coming back. We're going to come back, and we're going to hold your feet to the fire to the highest extent of the law, because you all know, you have all the information, and you already know, and you keep just walking off this cliff. So boy, did I become popular after that. So it's so I mean, I used to take it a little bit of as an insult, and I don't anymore. But people are like, you're a lot like Trump. People love you or they hate you. There's like no in the middle. But the irony is this, and I've actually heard this about Trump, interestingly enough. Jessica Reed Krause, she has what's called House and Habit, very popular, over 1 million followers on Instagram, and she's big in Substack. And she spent a lot of time with Bobby Kennedy Jr. and with Trump. And it was interesting. She said, people love him or they hate him. But, the thing is, once you get to know him, he's a likable guy, which has been my running joke for years now. My partner and I will be out on the town, going to a restaurant. We'll be talking to some people next to us, don't know them. And finally, like, I'm sorry, what's your name? I'll go, Renette Senham. And they'll go, Renette Senham? I never thought I'd like you. And I'm like, I'm according to the Union newspaper and the radio stations, who have all subscribed to the CDC narrative. Of course, you're not going to like me, because according to those stories, I wouldn't like me either. And it's been a lot of propaganda, and the local media has been very, very responsible in poisoning the well, turning people against me,
That's what they do.
misquoting. I mean, just like full on lying.
Let me ask you this,
But
Renette.
shocking. I mean, shocking.
Let me ask you this. Why?
Well, because I've always been over the target, and I speak to truth, and you can't buy me. You can't own me. You can't. And so the only thing they could do after 20 years, now more than 20 years of activism, or like at 25 years of activism, the thing that I had was my character. I didn't have any, I don't have skeletons. I mean, if I have any skeletons, I usually share them because they're really good stories. I don't have any skeletons. And
because they're really good stories.
Yeah, they're great. Why would I hold back? These are great stories.
That's funny.
And so my friends are all privy to this stuff. And again, they're not that bad. But so that's all they had, was really to go after the character, and they knew it. And I saw the turn in 2009, 2010. I started to see things shift, where like, whoa, they're really going after the one thing that I've got that's like really strong, and that was my character. Both the left and right liked me. But then once you start calling out crimes in your community, I just thought everybody was operating at the same level that I did, which is like they're just honest, right? And they have high standards, not double standards. And I found out, no, people have a lot of double standards. And so when I was calling out criminality and questionable activities that our government, local government, and elected representatives were supporting, whether it's through AT&T, Pacific Gas and Electric, whatever, our own city legal counsel. When I called them out, all I can say is I've developed a very impressive list of enemies. I mean, if you saw them, you'd be like, oh, Burnett, this is such an impressive list. And that's what I have all around me. So then they start a dogpile, they do whisper campaigns, and I know all their names. I know who's been doing what. And at some point it'll all come to the surface, but I know who they are. And I just kind of sit back for the last, whatever, 10, 15 years watching them. I'm like, the truth will come to the surface, and it is coming to the surface. Things are exploding to the surface. And so I'm just kind of like letting it all work out in due time.
Three things happen. Three things that they count on two of them happening, and they pray that they pray to their father, who's the father of lies, that the third one never happens. When the media and they try and turn the public opinion against you.
Right.
Those three things are: you're either going to go, oh, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
The other is you completely shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, they win.
Yeah.
The third one, though, that they pray never happens is you get emboldened.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
go, what? No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're messing with the wrong guy. You're messing with the
Yeah.
wrong gal. That's you.
Yeah.
You're that third one. You're the one they hate
Yeah.
so much. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen the, and it's not just government. It's not just government. During the whole COVID thing, and I keep hearing people telling me, Charlie, COVID's over. People are done talking about COVID. Really? Well, you better get ready because they're ramping up a whole new array of things to throw at you.
Right.
To try and destroy Trump's chances at repairing this economy and making this country great again.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things in their arsenal that they're going to throw
Yeah.
our way, trying to disrupt and destroy.
And they're going to fail.
But I've never seen the government and big corporate entities, including, of course, pharma, go after something that's supposed to be an illness, just a flu virus, which, by the way, had a 99.8 survivability rate, a flu virus, and turn it so political. But then at the same time telling us on the right, when we're going, no, I'm not doing this, including I went against my own President Trump, when he took the shot and he goes, oh, this is going to be great for everybody and it's going to save the world. And I just never felt right, Renette, never felt right, especially when I found out that there were no list of ingredients.
Yeah.
You go to the pharmacy and you ask for this, you don't get that huge, long laundry list of ingredients and things that you might be allergic to. You couldn't even get that. And I thought, no, I'm not doing this.
No.
Despite, and I paid in ways I don't even know if I've ever shared with you. I almost got kicked out of this, kicked out of that. My military service, I almost lost. I almost got kicked out of that. I can't even talk about it.
Yeah. No, it's
bad.
It was bad.
Suffice it to say, I've never seen an illness so politicized like that. Why?
Well, because it wasn't an illness. It was a kill shot. It was a weapon of war. So I think, it's we now know the DoD was behind the manufacturing the shot, and they used Pfizer and they used Big Pharma and Moderna as the cover, because why would the DoD come out with a shot? To inoculate the whole entire U.S. citizenry, right?
At first, you said DoD, Department of Defense?
Yes. Yeah, the Department of Defense. The DoD was behind the manufacturing of it, but they needed Big Pharma, right, to a vaccine maker to be the face. Because why would the DoD be in the business of? And what we know is the DoD is doing this because the DoD has been dependent upon our retirement, our 401ks, and so on, and our IRAs. And what they know now is that the boomers are getting to the age where they're going to be calling upon those funds. Well, those funds are long gone. They were thrown into the military-industrial complex a long time to fight for our forever wars. And they know that when these boomers come along and say, okay, we want a retirement now, please, and there's nothing there, all hell's going to break out. So best thing to do is just knock them out, just wipe them out, and do it in such a way what's called the SV40, which is what changes the mRNA, your genetic code, to turn on the cancer gene. They did that with the polio shots from the 50s to the 1963. That's why we have people now, or baby boomers, who are getting cancer. But now we have the shot that also has the SV40. So now you have these turbo cancers going on everywhere.
There's
But
a
they're
turbo
cancer.
cancer, yeah.
But they're cancers, you know. I mean, they're cancers. They have nothing to do with, you know. Well, they do. It's all in the shot. So the DOD, to cover its own ass, had to make sure that it was not an aging population that was going to start calling upon and wanting their retirement funds, because the DOD, the Pentagon, the MIC, the whole entire military industrial complex, long ago blew those funds. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, and I'm, you know, I'm not a baby boomer, but they're going on after everyone, but baby boomers especially. I sidestepped the polio shot. I was born in 66, a few years after they had the SV40 in there. But, you know, there's a lot of people who speak to and understand that that SV40 turned on the genetic code, and it's now changed the DNA forever. So if you have children, they've got the same code. So it's like, this is such a democide, right? Not even a genocide, it's a democide, which is like, it's everybody. It's not just a certain breed or race or anything. It's just everybody. And, you know, we're seeing that, we're witnessing that. Now, in the long run, I do believe, because allopathic medicine has failed us completely. In fact, it's, you know, tried to kill us. We're going to leave allopathic medicine behind, except for really critical, right? You know, like accidental, you know, things like that, catastrophic events. And we're going to be, and we already are, going to be pursuing different modalities of healing and health. And we are. Everything from light to frequency to meditation to, you know, how you speak to yourself, to food as medicine, herbal treatments, and so on. So we're already going in that direction, and there is a war against that, because this power that has essentially poisoned us doesn't want it to heal ourselves. There's just too much money into that. Too much money.
You want to talk about a war against health information? I'll give you a fine example of a gentleman I had on my show one time who swears by apricot seeds.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, for cancer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said, "Can I talk freely about this on your show?" I go, "Son, if there's any other show you can talk freely on, this would be it. Right. Go for it." And it got yanked so hard and so fast, and I got threatened with deletion of every single one of my social media. They freaked out over that. Yeah. Why can't somebody at least say, you know what, at least if you're not going to believe about its healing powers, then at least let somebody talk about it, even if you disagree with it. But no, they shut it down.
Well, we're being...
I can't even say his name, because this show would be taken down for me merely saying his name, Renette.
I know. Well, that's the thing that I saw, though, behind the scenes in the Zoom calls, those weekly Zoom calls in the very beginning of COVID. I could see very quickly that the railings were being put up and we're being cattle shooted into the only way out of this is through the shot. And I could tell that was it. I mean, the red flags, it was like in my face. In fact, they told me, like, sorry, no, the only way out of this is you're going to get a shot. Before the shot was even on the market. That was in spring of 2020, right? I'm like, so anywho, it was clear that was the marching orders that people were getting, whether they realized it or not, or they were isolated or siloed and didn't understand the full Manhattan Project. It didn't matter. They were participating and subscribing to it. And that's what I saw. And so, and again, this is all the way down from the darkest and the darkest and the highest of the high, using the media, weaponizing health, weaponizing government at every level, you know, weaponizing social media. I mean, just weaponizing our trust and belief in the medical system. And it was very clear, you know, it was very clear what was going on. So here we are today, and we are now seeing turbo cancers, Parkinson's disease, glioblastomas, deadly brain tumors, pancreatic cancers, autoimmune diseases. I mean, the list goes on and on, you know, heart issues, strokes, different ages, infertility. I mean, just like, it is a war on life, you know, there's no doubt. And I interviewed Dr. Christian Northrup recently about that, how it really attacks reproductive organs big time. It doesn't want us to continue populating the planet. And so this is what we're up against. But, you know, Charlie, my own personal experience is, in the end, the darkness will not and is not winning. They're throwing every spaghetti they can at us, hitting the wall, seeing what sticks. They've lost. They aren't in control of the narrative any longer. They aren't in control of what we're saying and thinking. Even whether you like Trump or not, that election was a massive red wave. It wasn't just politically; it was energetically and spiritually, in my opinion. And it was a colored revolution. It was a quiet revolution. We went to the ballots. We overwhelmed it, in spite of the migrants coming in here and voting, in spite of all of the hanky panky around the actual votes themselves and the ballots. Yep. We overcame it. It was a quiet, silent revolution. I barely saw a bumper sticker or a yard sign saying Trump, Vance. I saw Harris, Waltz all over the place, but no, it was just we're quiet. Like, we're not going to promote, we're not going to advertise, we're just going to show up. And we did. And so that tells me that we've monkey wrenched the system. It's not what it was expecting. We've quietly made our mandate, like, this is what we want, and we're tired of this. And whether Trump delivers or not, people aren't going to waver on this. We've been through hell and high water and hellfire for over 4 years, and we are now connected. We now understand. We're now awake, and we're not going to just go along with any type of politics that is more of the same. So
I don't know, Renette. I don't know, because there's infiltration into media and what's supposed to be conservative media. Do you consider Epoch Times to be a conservative newspaper?
Well, I think a ton of them, I think all of big alternative media has to be corrupted, because that's the only reason why it's at that level. When you have something honest.
I just posted one of their latest headlines from the Epoch Times that said, studies suggest that 90% of pregnant women who get the bird flu will die.
Yeah. What the hell's that?
They don't say what the studies are and who did the studies and where they're from and are they dying of the bird flu? Well, what is the bird flu? Is that H1N1? Is that Asian? What is it? Make up your mind. Why would the Epoch Times promote something like that, which is completely unfounded?
Well, because, as you said, anything that's operating at that level, period. These are even friends of mine, people I know, who are functioning at that level, getting that kind of publicity, able to maintain that kind of platform, has to have sold their soul somewhere, because the people who are like really the truth tellers, we can't even get a foot in the door. I mean, don't even think it. So my point is this: that does not surprise me whatsoever, Charlie. But my point is this: the people who've already said no to the COVID lies are going to be saying no. They're going to be saying no to the bird flu lies as well. We're so done with that freaking story. We're so done with that story. Don't test my milk. Keep your hand off my cows. Keep your hand off my food. I'm not eating.
Well, they're already murdering them, though, by the tens and even hundreds of thousands.
But,
because allegedly they're infected. Animals, livestock are being decimated right now.
This is because it's a proxy war. There's a war on our food. There's a war on our health. There's a war on religion. There's a war on education. There's a war on our minds. There's a war on light. There's a war on everything. We know that. But again, the amount of people where we were even a year ago, Charlie, versus where we were collectively 4 years ago, 5 years ago, has been transformative. And that is a tidal wave. It's a tidal wave. And they're going to keep putting out disinformation. Why would they not? They're going to use their little, spokespeople to continue pushing the fake. But there's a level of awareness now that we have that it's just, we're not buying it. So even this whole bird flu, I haven't met one person who's like awake like we are, who's buying it, going, oh my God, we gotta be careful of our milk. There's nobody buying it. Even when they put it out, we still don't buy it. I don't care if it's Epoch Times. I didn't hear.
I was just yesterday at a little celebration with nothing but conservatives. Absolutely no one talked about Gavin Newsom and what he has just done,
right? It's like
by declaring the California in a state of emergency over 32 reported cases of bird flu, a state of emergency. And we saw what he did during the COVID thing when they kept us under lockdown for almost 2.5 years, far beyond what other states had done because they were passing laws.
And we don't give him power, do we? We don't even give him power. He's a laughing stock. We don't give him power.
We couldn't stop it. We couldn't stop it because it's emergency services, but yet it was laws about allowing child porn into libraries, and it's a horrific things going on under the guise of an Emergency Powers Act. Gavin Newsom has done that now in the state of California.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody talking about it.
Because nobody cares. He means nothing to us. He means nothing to us.
You think that's it?
Nobody pays any mind to him. He's laughing. He's like Justin Trudeau. He's laughing stock of government. I mean, and he's a CCP foot soldier. I said that out the gate originally. You're a CCP foot soldier. You're doing their bidding.
She's talking about the Communist
Xi Jinping over here.
Chinese Communist Party is what she's talking about. CCP.
Yeah, and when he brought Xi
agree.
Jinping over here to San Francisco and cleaned it up like this and fenced it up like it was a 15-minute city, it's like, dude, you just showed your colors. You just showed your cards, and nobody gives him. Nobody gives him an inkling, one little drop of attention or seriousness. Like everyone laughs at him. So, and let me tell you what I've learned about this.
We laugh at him, but yet he has still put back into place the things that were happening during COVID that they used and utilized, and behind that protective veil.
And think of how many people now know we'll never go get the COVID shot again. We'll never believe the CDC. Will not believe Newsom. Will never lock down again. Will never close their churches or their schools or their businesses ever again.
If he could run for a third term for governor of California, you don't think he'd win?
Oh, I think the election is totally corrupt. I mean, I had that firsthand experience running for governor. It was fantastic.
He would win, and it's because we don't talk about it.
He did not win the last election. I know for a fact, because when I was campaigning, doing 20,000 miles in 6 months, I was talking to all these people. I was surrounded by people who all voted for Newsom back, 4 years earlier. Like, we'll never do that again. And so I was hearing that everywhere I went. And when he won his election in 2018, he only got 2.5 million votes out of 40 million people, like out of 20 million registered voters. He got 2.5. That's how few people vote, but he got 2.5 million votes. That's how he won. That was in 2018. Come 2022, where he's really despised, what happens? He almost doubles his amount of votes, over 4 million votes. I'm like, you did not double your votes in 4 years.
Don't forget, more than once, he mailed out relief checks.
Yeah, but even then,
he bought that election because there's a whole lot of dumbasses who will sit there and vote for anyone that will keep the freebies coming.
Well, it's there is that for sure. But I have to say that that doesn't cut the mustard for most Californians. It's also like a slap in the face. What we do know, like other elections around the country, is they do have the ability with these damn ballots and so on, and the diebold and all the computers. Computer voting is electronic voting, is that they can flip votes. They go in there and they just flip them. They can actually take votes away from a certain person and give them to somebody else. They can completely jerry-rig the whole entire thing. And they do jerry-rig the whole entire thing. So, but again, all this is happening and they keep pushing this onto us, the ideology and this, that, and the fear porn and the policies. And people are just like, whatever, move on. And what I know is that those in power, these monsters, these evildoers, they don't like being mocked. They don't like being laughed at. They don't like not being taken seriously.
No,
they want to go, oh no, and we're just walking by, go take a hike. Just go.
That's so true.
And so that's what's happening, and they can't stand that because the fear is the power, right? They got you by a chain when they got you afraid, like, oh, daddy. That's not. We're like, move on, So they don't have us mentally captured like we used to be. Are there still a lot of people who are captured, who are brainwashed, who are like MK Ultra walking themselves off the cliff? Yes. Can they be saved? Not most of them. Some will wake up. No. Most will walk themselves. We're watching it right now. We're watching.
You're right.
It. And
we just saw it in the last election when John Garamendi, at the age of 79, who had been diagnosed earlier in the year with a form of blood cancer, 79 years old, just got reelected. In the Bay Area. Those idiots and then they ruin where they live and they move to where we live and proceed to start ruining that. These are truly mentally deficient people. These are people who suffer from some sort of arrested development. They never seem to get past college.
It's like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, they fall in love with their persecutors, do they?
Yeah. So the other thing is that I don't know if I think they're more like the hive mind. Some of them are just, they're so connected into that hive mind. They really can't think for themselves. And I'm sure I'm having friends or ex-friends who are going to watch this and go, how dare you? I'm like, but go beyond the talking points. Whenever, I approach you on anything, they can't go beyond the talking points. So, because they actually haven't thought it through they're not basing it on their experience. They're not basing it on their intuition, right? They're not basing it upon, being in this planet for a long, long time and not being able to put two and two together. And I think that a lot of them have to walk themselves off the cliff because it's really, really hard to deal with the concept that you injected a biological weapon into your own body, have compromised your health, more than likely shortened your life, and done the same thing to loved ones and employees and family and friends around you. I think most people don't have the wherewithal to actually admit that to themselves and would rather just keep walking, and be in complete denial of reality, because once that wall of truth comes, down, they don't have the capacity to deal with that. They just don't have the capacity. And so, and we see this in government, like you're talking about emissions, right? So I see this all the time where representatives pretend in their little head that if they don't acknowledge something, if they don't speak the words, they just pretend like they didn't read it or see it or hear it. It does not exist, therefore they are not responsible. Well, we know for a fact that in order to identify whether or not a person committed a crime against humanity, you only have to ask them one question and one question only, which is, what did you know by when? That's what they did with Agent Orange. Is once they were able to convince the WHO that Agent Orange is a cancer-causing agent, then these attorneys went to all the heads of all the different chemical companies and said, you got to stop spraying this stuff. And when they didn't stop spraying Agent Orange, then they took them to world court, right? And they said, okay, crimes against humanity, what did you know by when? And when they could prove that these individuals had the information sent to them, available at their fingertips, well known, and they chose to ignore it, they were still responsible for the crime. So we have all these individuals who think that if they omit and ignore and don't talk about the truth, that they're not responsible for it. We've proven at the highest levels of court, of the law in the world, that I didn't know, your ignorance is not your free hall pass.
Good.
And we're there. So, I mean, I'm going to enjoy 2025, though it would be crazy. And these monsters will keep throwing everything at us because they're saying, yeah, we know we're losing control and we know that we're not winning, but you're going down with us. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to throw everything and you know what, Charlie, I can't believe we're still walking. I can't believe we're all still here. I mean, they've tried again to kill us off every which way. I mean, everything has been weaponized against us. Air, water, our own genetic code, health, media,
our fruits
education,
and vegetables,
water, everything,
sprayed with different
soil,
things, this and that,
air,
genetically modified.
Everything's been weaponized, and yet here we still are. We are so resilient, and we can adopt so well. And our spirit is so powerful that they just really can't do us in like they thought they could. And that, I believe, is because we are connected to the divine, to our creator, and you can't snuff out the greatest creation of all, life. You can't. And they keep, trying to convince us otherwise. And again, they're not winning. So I'm just enjoying the show now.
You said one thing earlier that's got me a little concerned, and I'd like to know more about it.
Sure.
Because I'm a polio shot recipient.
Yeah.
And you said that it's got the same factors or something in it as the COVID vaccine that changes our DNA so that it is forever altered, and you even pass it along to your children and the rest of your offspring.
And worse than that, so Dr. Jack Cruz, who's extraordinary neuroscientist and neurosurgeon, has been doing the rounds on podcasts, and he's been talking about the importance of light, like getting blue light out of your life, and the importance of the morning light and this and that. But he also got into, and he also talks about how this SV40 was originally put into shots, and the actual scientist, the doctor who did this, realized this terrible mistake. Like, we got to get this SV40 out of these shots and stop disseminating the shots. But the government's like, woo, let's take advantage of that. And they made sure it was in the shots. And then they made sure it was in the COVID shots, not just the polio, but the COVID. But from 1963 on, they finally removed it out of the polio shots. that SV40 does change the genetic code.
Wait. So first of all, it's SD as in
SV,
Sierra David.
Sam and Victoria. Sam, Victoria.
Oh, SV40. Okay, it was in the original polio shot, but then they
Yep.
took it out in 1963.
Yep. But they put it back in the COVID shots. So it creates these turbo cancers. But what also Dr. Jack Cruz talked about is what they discovered.
So I got it quite a bit after 1963, so I don't have it in me.
You probably should not know. But a lot of other people do. A lot of
other people do, exactly.
Right.
And they knew it was going to be a shot that everybody was going to take,
Yes.
because they were going to disseminate it through schools, and they were going to force everybody to get
around
inoculated.
the world. Yes. So
it was all for our own good. I understand that, and polio is a horrible thing, and I'm glad we were. But what they never report on when they talk about the effectiveness of the polio vaccine, they never talk about how many people died with the first couple of ones that came out.
There's tons of evidence that polio is actually it stems from exposure to DDT, which they were spraying in neighborhoods everywhere.
Mosquito abatement.
So it was a false flag in a way. I mean, so they're out there spraying us with DDT. People are becoming paralyzed, can't breathe, just put them, iron lung, and like, oh, it's this terrible thing called polio. We're going to have to give you a shot now. Well, that shot was not needed. If you didn't get sprayed with DDT, you're fine. You weren't going to have polio. And then what did they put in the polio shot from the 50s into 63? This SV40 to ensure all these guys in their 60s and 70s are now getting getting cancer. You can actually test the tumor, the material, the cancerous material, test it for SV40, and you will have the fingerprints of the polio shot in that cancer, in that tumor. And what Dr. Jack Cruz also pointed out to us was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This SV40 is in the polio shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to irradiate it and get rid of it. Well, they tried to irradiate it and they found out that the cancer explodes. So now what do they require people when they have cancer before they can go any other alternative treatment, any kind of experimental treatment? They are required to get radiation and chemotherapy. Why? Because it intensifies and weaponizes and increases the SV40, right? That genetic code, it makes it even worse and guarantees you're probably going to die because you got radiated from cancer because you just made it explode. It is so dark. It is so dark and so bad. And so God bless Dr. Jack Cruz. I've been listening to his podcasts. They're extraordinary. I've listened to them several times for things to sink in. He is blowing the whistle on this stuff. There's been many people blowing the whistle on this, but he gets into the neuroscience. He gets into the medical, lens he's looking through and explain to how it happens. And there is no way to turn that genetic code. Once it's turned on, that SV40 turns it on, that cancerous genetic code in your DNA. They don't know how to turn it off. They don't know how to turn it off. So they don't have a way to turn off that genetic code that causes cancer. They don't know how to turn it off. And once you've changed your DNA, so when those people had those polio shots, changed their DNA, had children, the children has that same code, that cancerous code in their DNA.
Good Lord.
And so this is the stuff that's coming to the surface. And, when people hear that, you just want to give them the big old birdie. It's just so disgusting. It's so disgusting. It's so diabolical. And I have people say, well, our government would never do that. People would never do that. I'm like, well,
that's the hardest thing to accept, because I was brought up that you always trusted Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam's got our best interest at heart, and they're beholden to the people because they can be replaced. They can have somebody else take office. We can vote them out. That's all I ever learned. That's what I grew up with. But now I realize, just like doctors, because I've asked this question many times, how can someone who's taken a Hippocratic oath to do no harm turn around and do tremendous harm like this? Well, many of them, they either do not know or do not care. But the people who are developing this and making this all happen and pulling the trigger against us never took a Hippocratic oath, did they?
No, they didn't. And the thing is this has been generations in the making. We've been breeding psychopaths and narcissists for many generations, and we've got more now than ever. So you've got a bunch of psychopaths in power, and they only allow other psychopaths in their circles because that just protects all of them. So you've got a psychopathic class, essentially. And when people say to me, Renette, our government would never do this, I always say the same thing. You're 100% correct. The government you were taught about in school, in the education system, the government that you were led to believe, the government that the media tells you exists, that government would never do these kind of things. And that government does not exist. What does exist is a criminal cabal masquerading as your government. That exists. And that criminal cabal, they are narcissists, they are psychopaths and sociopaths, and they
Satan
are
worshipers.
monsters. And many of them have been, their parents and their parents were also psychopaths and narcissists who bred more psychopaths and narcissists and circled them around, only made sure that other psychopaths and narcissists joined them as their.
I did not do that. I did not do that. That's not the first time that's happened. I hope she tries to log back in so we can continue, but I did not pull her off the show. I wouldn't. There's nothing she could say that would make me think, oh, that's it, we're done. Nothing. Let me call her. Stand by, please. Let's see if I can get her come back on.
Hello, you've reached 530-264.
Dang it. Please log back in. I used to have capability of doing voice to text. I could just hit that little microphone thing, and I could have recorded that and then hit send. It went away, and my phone did some kind of update, and that microphone thing went away. And I even took it into a Verizon store because that's who I am. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we can't figure it out. I don't know. It's not why it's not working." So that sucks. Anyway, on a side note, far less important note, as a matter of fact. I hope she comes back on. I'm gonna stay live. I'm not gonna pull this yet because that was too important. Renette has just said things that stunned me, and I thought I knew quite a bit, especially that stuff about. There she is. I don't know what happened, but can you log back in?
Sure, happy to.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you. I didn't know if I should do that or not.
Yes, please. Yeah, please do.
Okay. Right now. Okay. I'll see you there.
Yeah. There she is.
Was it something I said?
This is not the first time this has happened to you, is it?
No, it happens all the time. I think it happens. Yeah, I think it happens.
This is one of the few times that it has happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's
So
always
what,
been
where was I?
when I get into these
What?
kind of discussions, all of a sudden, boom, everything goes away. And you were there at the border. You and I both
Oh,
were
yeah.
at Santa Ynez
Yeah.
when we were doing that Take Our Border Back convoy to Arizona, Texas. And you and I were there. And I talked on the air with you at the time about I was all set up to go live. I was going to bring to you the speakers that they had. The lineup of speakers were great. And I was doing the countdown, 5, 4, 3, and then boom, it goes away.
Yeah, you were
Everything goes away.
geofenced.
And I get back on again, 5, 4, 3, boom, goes away again. I'm going, son of a bitch. That's not an accident.
No,
This
I
is
had
freaky.
it happen at Defeat the Mandates in DC a few years ago, where tens of thousands of people were heading towards the main event, and we're just walking, making our way, no problem, going live stream, no problem. And as soon as I get close to that stage, man, I was no longer able to live stream. Instagram, Facebook didn't matter, no connection to the internet, but people all around me were live streaming, no problem. But I was not able to. It's like, and I had young people, right?
And who
young
are
people,
they?
like,
Who are they? Who would do that?
I would say one of the alphabet agencies, the CIA, FBI, whatever. Who I don't know, the
Border
law
Patrol.
enforcement. Who knows? But they obviously didn't want me. I mean, people were live streaming all around me, and I had young people look at my phone because they're like, "Little old lady, what are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I can tell you, I really truly can't live stream. I'm not stupid." And they couldn't get it to go either. So it wasn't just because I'm aged, disabled.
Last thing you are is stupid. So what we were talking about was fascinating to me, and that was the cabal, the whole coming together, the people calling the shots.
all at every level. It is generations in, and quite sadly, the thing that I realize is that many times it's your neighbors, it's people in your own community, it's people in your own circle, and you don't know who they are, and you don't know who they've taken an oath to. And I've seen people who I've really respected and loved all of a sudden turn in a really weird way, and I could never figure out why before. And I'm like, oh, they're one of those. They're like here in your community, but they have an oath to something different, right? Or they're blackmailed, or they're whatever, or they're coerced. And I didn't think that happened at this level, a local. I thought it was like all small town politics. We all love our town. We do the best for it. Didn't realize that no, those tentacles come all the way here at the local level. And now I know who those people are. COVID has exposed those people. I know clearly who they are. I've got a running list of names, and I know who to trust and who not to trust. Thank you very much. It's been phenomenal 4 or 5 years to really unveil that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. I have lost so many friends because of my stance on just that alone.
Yeah.
I've taken so many attacks and thrown under the bus, and people who I really thought were stronger
Right.
than that, I watched them just flip right over.
Yeah.
And it was very telling, very distressing. But now I realize it's a blessing.
It's a blessing. It's sad, but it's a blessing. It's been
Get
very
out.
hard. It's definitely like a dark night of the soul. You have to kind of go through that when you realize that people you may have known for decades or even your whole life were not who you thought they were. And I come from, I thought, a community in Nevada City, which is a town packed full of activists. Now, granted, most people have moved away, or they've died, or they've just gone dark, and a lot of other people from the Bay Area have moved in. So we got the buildings, but the town is different. But the town we had before was a town of activists. And they knew how to educate themselves. They knew how to stand their ground. They knew how to push back. They knew how to help create and push through legislation if they had to, how to protect our community. And I mean, the people who understood the importance of organic food and no chemicals and no this, no that, no heavy metals, they were the first ones running for the shot. They were the first ones pushing the shot on people. They were the first ones shutting me down.
How freaky is that?
It was
That's
just
so
like,
true.
it was like they had to have been targeted the most because they went running for the shots. They were shutting me down, targeting me, character assassination. Like I could not believe people who I worked with regularly, and they were going for the jugular, and I could never figure out. I'm like, oh, because they were more psyoped. They were actually more, and most of them are more well educated. And what we now know too, in fact, Dr. Jack Cruz talks about this, is that the MK Ultra program, which is now a 5.0, the most recent one is called the Marshmallow program. That is what all the heads of Silicon Valley, whether it's YouTube or Google or Facebook or whatever, they've all gone through the MK Ultra program. They're all MK Ultra. And he goes, 55% of Americans are MK Ultra. And they're MK Ultra not just through the screens and the education system, but also through the higher education system and the Yales and the Harvards and the Stanfords. They're the ones that now have the MK Ultra programs in there. That's why those who are the most highly educated are the first to fall, because they've been MK Ultra. Now that seems outrageous until you look at the statistics of those who went out there and got higher education were the ones who are the most vaccinated and fell for the mask and the psyops. Then it starts to make sense. And you're like, holy, this is why the high school educated, right? The high school graduate, the farmer, the blue collar worker didn't go for it. Why? They weren't in the MK Ultra programs as long.
And explain that. This, like, anyone who doesn't know what an MK Ultra is.
Who?
MK Ultra. Anybody who doesn't know what that is, what is
brainwashing. It's brainwashing. Brainwashing.
What does it stand for? MK Ultra. What is that?
Well, I mean, basically, it's a person. It comes from.
Please come back on. Please come back on. Please come back on. This should be freaking you out. She has perfectly good Wi-Fi where she is. I have perfectly good Wi-Fi where I am. This should be freaking you out. I've been in the media my entire adult life. I know what they do. I know what the media has done. But this is beyond that. This is beyond that. Thank you for sticking with me. You know what? I didn't even open the chat room. I'm so notorious about that, not opening the chat room. My apologies to you. So if you had any questions or wanted to make any statements, you can do it now. At least through Facebook if you're watching live on Facebook. Sorry, I just opened that. My apologies. I don't think she's coming back on. Just send her a text. Let me call.
Hello, you've reached 5.
Dang it. I don't know what to do now. Other than just keep going and keep trying. MK Ultra. How do we fight against this when we literally get shut down like this, when we have okay. Well, I'm gonna again, as a broadcaster, this is why I love radio and I will always support radio, especially AM talk radio, because they cannot do crap like this unless they shut off the power. They can't stop you from talking about this kind of thing. If I was on the radio right now, we would have had that whole discussion about MK Ultra. And nobody could have stopped it. Only you could have stopped it by not listening. That's the one thing left, the only thing left that the Federal Communications Commission, the federal government, the state government, county government, city government, cabal can't shut down. As long as there's power to that transmitter and it's going to that antenna, they can't stop it. That's why AM radio is so vitally important, as I've been saying on many shows now. That's a treasure right there. Maybe I need to be back on the radio, because this is very frustrating, doing the podcasting thing and having stuff like this happen. Very frustrating. Okay, well, I hope she's okay. I truly do. She's not getting back to me. I don't know what happened, my friend. I don't even know how to. I don't know. I didn't get to say her website or anything. I don't have her website. Let me see if I have it on here. I might have it in my contacts, because I'm sure, like me, you want to hear more. And Renette's great. She'll get back to you. She'll gladly talk to you. No, I don't have it in my contacts. That sucks. Okay, I'll tell you what. If you want to help this show, you can do that through Venmo.com/DoNotTalk. I'll be real honest with you. I used to have a few people contributing and helping, and that's all gone away because the economy is horrible, regardless of what the media is telling us. We're all struggling, especially at Christmas time, right? I get it. First of the year, I know. First quarter is always slow for every business, especially in the media. I get it. But if you could help, Venmo would be the great way to do it. Venmo.com/DoNotTalk. And there's another thing I'm involved in too, and this is a business that has over 400 products, American made, naturally derived. They're big on natural ingredients and no chemicals, and so am I. And that is freedomswitchusa.com/Lee. My middle name, Lee, will take you right to the page that explains it all. freedomswitchusa.com/LEE. And they don't advertise. It's all word of mouth. Been around for over 30 years, out of Idaho Falls, Idaho. Patriotic family, owned and operated. So please at least check it out. My friend Ron Lyons, you put your email address in there, and you can watch this video that explains how the whole thing works. Even if you just buy products, you don't get involved in the business part of it like I did. you're going to thank me for it. American-made products, locally owned and operated in the United States of America. That's local to me. Any kind of dock strike or shutdown of the supply line doesn't matter, because they source their own products for what they make, for everything, for your body, for your home, food, everything. You'll thank me for it. freedomswitchusa.com/Lee. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. Most importantly, America bless God.